Hello, I'm Jake Fool.
And I'm Garrett Begor, and we conducted this feasibility study in order to determine if renovating Camden Yards, home of the Baltimore Orioles, would be a practical project to move forward with. These renovations include decreasing the number of seats, introducing a social gathering area, adding onto the center field rooftop bar, adding charging ports throughout the ballpark, and introducing Wi-Fi to the ballpark. There are new ballparks and facilities all around sports that have implemented new and improved ways to spectate events. Camden Yards was built in 1992 and is the seventh oldest ballpark in Major League Baseball. By renovating the ballpark, Camden Yards will be more modernized compared to the traditional look of the ballparks.
Based on our research, we believe the renovations of Camden Yards is a feasible project that will lead to a strong economic impact and increased revenue for not only the Baltimore Orioles, but the city as a whole. Baltimore is a port city around central Maryland. Located next to the Chesapeake Bay, the seaport city has its own inner harbor and is a desired tourism destination for people along the East Coast primarily. This is due to being so close to the water and having a retro feel to the city, especially with Camden Yards and the brickwork done at the stadium. The city has had some struggles of recent years, such as the Baltimore riots, which in turn has seen the population decline slightly. Baltimore also has a higher poverty rate than most other cities in the country, but the city is becoming younger and more people are steadily visiting the city each year with the hope of promise in the future for growth. Baltimore is the largest city in the state of Maryland, with a population of roughly 621,000 people. Baltimore is a predominantly black city, with 63% of the total population being black and the next highest majority white, roughly around 30%. Women make up 53% of the population, while men are at 47%. The median age for men and women is right around 34. Baltimore is a more individualized city than family-oriented and is known for their high poverty and crime rates, but yet is still a desired destination for tourists, mainly along the East Coast. Due to its art, culture, and attractions in the city, Baltimore sees a lot of people come through to help the economy each year. Starting with the tourist information, there has been an increase in tourists visiting, which then relates to the increase of money being spent by them as well, as you can see in the information. We can even break it down to day and night visits. As for where they are coming from, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia make up most of the tourists, followed by New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., and Delaware. Camden Yards is home to the Baltimore Orioles. The Maryland Stadium Authority owns the stadium while the Orioles operate in it. The stadium started construction back in 1989 and finally opened in the spring of 1992. Camden Yards is considered among many of the best ballparks in the country due to its old retro feel to it. From multiple buildings surround the stadium, it generates that historic feel. The stadium currently seats 45,971, which is less than what they originally started at. In 2011, they had renovations to reduce the seats from 48,876 to what it is now, of 45,971. The ballpark holds around 85 club to suite levels. Entering the game can be a challenge with minimal parking on a first-come, first-served basis, while only having 6 gates for entry into the stadium itself. Currently, the stadium does not have Wi-Fi and a limited amount of charging ports for fans. The new proposal would increase the number of charging stations and implement Wi-Fi throughout the stadium, with the hopes of drawing the younger generation to come out for a game. The proposal would also decrease the number of seats in the stadium to 35,467 to make space for the new areas added. This will help with the low attendance currently and television feel, making it feel more crowded.
As stated at the beginning, the renovations will include a reduction in the total amount of seats, expansion of the rooftop bar and center field, addition of a social gathering area, addition of charging stations for cell phones and other electronic devices, and the introduction of a Wi-Fi network throughout the ballpark. Currently, Camden Yards seats 45,971 people, but the average attendance, according to Baseball Almanac, is only 20,053 people. This is a total difference of 25,918. This demonstrates how many empty seats there are per game at the ballpark. To counteract this, we plan on reducing the number of seats to 35,467. Reducing the number of seats will increase the overall fan experience by giving fans seats that provide a better view of the field. The 10,504 seats will be replaced by a social gathering area, which has become very popular throughout sports venues over the years. Access to this area would be available with an upgrade for any regular ticket, along with season ticket holders receiving free access. In addition to the social gathering area, an expansion of the rooftop bar in center field will be included in the renovations. The bar was built in 2012 and has consistently seen large crowds at every game. By enhancing the size of the rooftop bar, revenue will increase from food and beverage sales, ticket sales, and the overall experience of the fan will rise throughout the area. Wi-Fi will be introduced to Camden Yards as well. The ballpark is the only park in Major League Baseball that has not implemented a Wi-Fi service. By adding this feature, baseball will no longer only be appealing to the older generation. This will allow younger fans of the game to use their resources more efficiently, increasing the likelihood of them attending ball games. Lastly, charging points will be included in the renovation. This will encourage fans to stay longer at games due to the fact that they do not have to worry about their cell phones or electronic devices running low on battery. By implementing these renovations to Camden Yards, the overall fan experience will be enhanced tremendously. There will be a few financing options applied in order to help pay for the renovations. The Baltimore Orioles, Maryland Stadium Authority, and the City of Baltimore will come to an agreement to help fund this project. In December of 1993, the Maryland Stadium Authority established a fund that would help pay for capital improvements of the ballpark. This fund maintains a balance of $600,000, which will be included in financing the renovations of the ballpark. Also, an amount of $4,500,000 will be paid for by the Maryland Stadium Authority. By renovating the ballpark, an agreement will be made between the Baltimore Orioles and the Maryland Stadium Authority, extending their contract through 2032. This states that the Baltimore Orioles will stay put in Camden Yards. This will provide security for the investment that was made by Maryland Stadium Authority. A loan of $10,750,000 will be issued from the M&C Bank with interest, but with rates being so low currently, this will pose no problem to us. Lastly, a bond of $7.5 million will be issued by the City of Baltimore. The renovation of Camden Yards should cost approximately $25 million. First, we will discuss the balance sheet, which supports projections for the next 5 years. Our assets include cash, accounts receivable, and inventory. As you can see, cash decreases at a constant rate from year 1 to year 5, demonstrating that the project is not feasible. Next, we have building, equipment, and accumulated depreciation, which are in the property, plant, and equipment section. Our next section would be liabilities. Our short-term liabilities include current installments of long-term debt and accounts payable. Current installments of long-term debt was acquired from our loan of $10,750,000. Our next section is long-term liabilities, which include long-term debt and bonds payable. Long-term debt was taken from the loan, and bonds payable was retrieved from the bond that was given to us from the City of Baltimore. Finally, we have the owner's equity section, which includes owner's equity and retained earnings, which is tied to the net income on the income statement. Now we will talk about the income statement.
Now we will take a look at the income statement, starting off with revenues. We have 3 major revenue streams coming from the naming rights deal from our renovations. The BMW Lounge, which is the centerfield rooftop deck bar, the Budweiser social gathering area, which will be in right field, and additional sponsorships. We move next to cost of goods sold, which stayed constant to year 5, leaving a gross profit of over $2 million. We move next to operating expenses, which include payroll, utilities, Wi-Fi expense, and depreciation. Operating income is total revenue minus total operating expenses. We then subtract interest expense from both the loan and the bond to get the earning before income tax. We would then subtract the income tax expense, but it is at 0%, therefore leaving us with our total net loss.
Now we will talk about the T-chart for year 1. Under debits we have a loan of $10,750,000, a loss of $1,194,178, which we got from net income on the income statement, an equity of $5,100,000, which we got from the Maryland Stadium Authority, accounts payable of $50,000, which we got from the liabilities section on the balance sheet, and a bond of $7,500,000. Under credits we have building with a cost of $20 million, inventory with a cost of $150,000, and equipment with a cost of $2 million, with all of which we retrieved from the property, plant, and equipment section on the balance sheet. Accounts receivable of $50,000, which we got from the asset section on the balance sheet, current installments, which we got from the liability section on the balance sheet, and we added depreciation of $866,667, which we got from the operating expenses section on the income statement. As you can see, there was a total of $22,205,822 under debits, and a total of $22,075,500 under credits. When we took the difference of these two numbers, we ended up with $130,321 in cash for year 1. Now we will discuss cash flows for year 2 through 5.
Now we will go over our statement of cash flows from year 2 to year 5. This involves 3 sections: the operating section, the investing section, and the financing section. First, in the operating section, we start off with our net income, then add depreciation. Then the investing section shows an increase or decrease in long-term assets, which for us would be equipment. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the financing section, where it shows the increase and decrease in long-term debt. The total is then added to the beginning of the year for the total cash flow for the year. Next, we will discuss our loan amortization schedule. M&T Bank provided us with a $10,750,000 loan that the Orioles will pay back over 10 years through the help of ticket taxes. The interest rate is at 8%, which we got from the averages in the current state of the economy. From the schedule, we can find the principal payment, interest expense, and ending balance, which all tie back to the balance sheet and income statement.
Next, we have the bond amortization schedule. This is the $7,500,000 bond issued by the City of Baltimore to finance the renovation project. We have an annual interest rate of 5%. The bond is scheduled to be paid off in 30 years. You will see under interest column for year 1, we have $860,000 in interest expense. This number is tied back to the interest expense section on the income statement. Our last financial statement is our depreciation schedule. By using $20 million and $2 million, which we got from building and equipment, with a useful life of 30 years for building and 10 years for equipment, our total depreciation for year 1 is $866,667. This is tied back to operating expenses on the income statement. We found this number by dividing the cost of the asset by the useful life of the asset. As you can see in our depreciation, increases by $10,000 each year. We also show accumulated depreciation, which is tied back to the balance sheet.
With this project, one economic impact will be the jobs created for the renovation itself. This would include construction jobs, implementing the Wi-Fi into the stadium, and several more staffing jobs for the new areas. Plus, new revenue will be earned in the form of alcohol and ticket upgrades. The newly designed areas will encourage fans to see the upgraded facility, increasing attendance and revenue from that as well. As of right now, the Orioles are paying stadium authorities a percentage of advertisements, parking, ticket sales, concessions, and club and suite revenues. With the additional revenue projected to come in from the concessions, ticket upgrades, and attendance, the renovations will lead to more wealth as well as more tax revenue for the state of Maryland from this increased spending.
This feasibility study will allow for the modernization of Camden Yards, one of baseball's oldest ballparks. With the introduction of the renovations, the social gathering area, expansion of center field rooftop bar, addition of Wi-Fi, and the addition of charging ports, Camden Yards will be updated immensely.
Looking back at the projected numbers, this renovation project of Camden Yards would not be feasible at this moment in time. The ideas to remove seats and add new areas would generate the look of improvement, but the financial numbers say otherwise. Cash consistently decreases from year 1 to year 5, ending with negative $6,337,195. We believe, based on the feasibility study, that these specified renovations of Camden Yards will not be achievable at this point in time. Thank you for listening to this study.